webinar today, which is on contact center metrics, a topic that is very dear to everyone's hearts.
What we saw from that same research was, in terms of engaging with customers, then the focus has become improving the customer experience, improving customer service. And what you could see, which was really quite surprising from the history and my association with contact centers, much less focus on reducing operational cost. So our research verifying that companies are more focused on the customer, they will still be concerned about cost, but actually improving that customer experience, improving customer service has become the mantra for today. But our last and really most important W is what action you're going to take. You know, there's an old saying which says you can only improve what you measure. But I kind of turn it around and say there's no point just measuring it if you don't do anything about it. So, you know, people will say, I have a net promoter score of this. Well, fantastic. What are you doing to improve? What are you using that metric to derive? Customer effort, I know, is one of Jonty's favorites. If you're measuring customer effort, then if it's hard for customers to engage with you, what are you doing to make it easier? So when you're thinking about new metrics, new analysis, then certainly one of our recommendations would be to think about those 3 W's, and that will make sure that you take advantage of all the data you've got, and you will get the information you need, and hopefully you will then persuade people to take action. If you wanted to be pure on metrics, we broke metrics into 3 buckets: operational, financial, and customer. And again, we've seen that slight disalignment in that the average number of metrics that companies are using from an operational point of view were 5. And this was things like call outcomes, so somebody mentioned that, SLAs, somebody mentioned that, quality scores, somebody mentioned that. So these are the type of operational metrics that companies are using, and I said on average there's 5. And in the financial side, the average drops down to 3, and there again, very cost oriented. And adherence to budgets, adherence to service costs. But creeping in there is a customer profitability focus. So the first 2 are probably, if you're like most organizations, you know, you have those CFOs sitting on top of you saying, yeah, keep the costs down. But just an average of 3 there. And then in the customer bucket, we had customer sat as the top, and some people mention that. But one of the things I think that if I wanted to take away one message from this slide, was that last metric in the customer lifetime value. If you're thinking about being in a competitive market, and balancing operations, i.e. the cost to serve, and the revenues you're earning from customers, then lifetime value is the metric which shows you that. And so I'd say think seriously about that. And as I've just realised, that adds up to 11, so and a bucket. So we were pretty much in line. So to do that, you will need to look at using different analytics. There's good reasons to and good ways of building a business case. We've seen that companies get an average of 6 benefits, so it's highly beneficial, and you can download and you can and see. But top of the pile is being able to improve customer experience.
Here's a different question, though, again asked of the same consumer group. Which do you value most in customer service interaction. So thinking about yourself as an individual when you're doing your interactions with your suppliers, what's the most important thing you want to achieve. And what was nice about this particular survey, we actually played it over 2013 and 2014, so that we could kind of compare results. And on this particular chart, the only difference between the 2 years was the first two, where the knowledgeable agent in 2013 was the most valued, where in 2014 actually it was the timely response that got that sort of top position, shall we say. But you can see there first call resolution is in there, professionalism, efficiency, and interestingly effective follow-up. So from that perspective, I just want to sort of like put that up there, if you like, as to where we get our priority perhaps from. Firstly, of course, we would all recognize like a post-call satisfaction survey, kind of inviting the customer to take part in a brief sort of like IVR-based dialogue, just to sort of capture some 1, 2, 3, 4 measures, if you will. But again, we are in this multi-channel world, so that's only really good for calls, and it'll give a good sample there. But what about the post-email? What about the post-chat? What about the post-SMS? Excuse me. So in that context, then, what we're finding is customers are adopting what we call process automation tools, and on that, really, on the end of an event, then they will start to kick off a series of sort of follow-ups to say, like, thanks for your email. Hopefully, we responded to it correctly. Can you just give us a score on that, your particular experience with us? And the nice thing then, if you like, about the automation tool is the fact that you can kind of build assessments and sort of monitor how your customers are providing the information. So as well as feeding out the survey to the customer, you're actually gathering the information back as well in automation. So it doesn't become a sort of a heavy burden, if you like, on your operations. The software can actually take care of the work here. And then don't forget, like, survey fatigue, okay? Because every time I interact with somebody, I don't want to be immediately asked every time, can you please take part in the survey? Can you please take part in the survey? I'm going to get very, very bored. So again, as part of a sort of a smart interaction process automation strategy, you will be looking to build in there the sort of accommodation of being timely in how you offer the survey, when you offer the survey. Maybe it's 1 in every 7, 1 in every 10 interactions. Maybe it's associated with some investment that the customer may have had, or change in their circumstances the customer may have had. So don't just slam every interaction with a survey, but think about and be sort of make it part of your brand experience how you want to invite the customer to take part in the survey for all-round better results.
And then Christopher again says, don't be afraid to simplify data. It doesn't have to contain graphs on graphs and charts upon charts. It's more important how we present the data and, of course, what we then do with it. Richard, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, well, I seem to be getting Christopher. A lot of interesting points there, Christopher. Some of which I could probably spend the next 24 webinars debating. I personally, what you say is true. One of the things I always have this problem with, and in fact I argue with my colleagues about this. There's the difference between data and information. Data is really that core in systems stuff. It's that CRM records. It's those call recordings. It's those scripts. That's really what I think of as data. What you want to get out of the data, what information do you want to get? And the thing is, when you think about the information, and picking up this point, is how you present it. There's different ways to present the same data, but you do have to think very carefully about it. I had somebody from a user saying he got into a lot of trouble when he presented some analysis, some data to his executive, and they all went crazy. And he said, why are you going crazy? That's good news. And they're going, no, the chart's dropping. And he said, you haven't looked at the axis. That's good news. So they'd all been used to looking at it the other way around. So I think the way the information is presented is key. There are different ways. I don't think you have. I think I agree with you. You don't have to get that fancy. People do like the data to be clear and focused on, what they're trying to achieve. So from that perspective, I agree.
Craig says, AHT is flawed. In an extreme case, you can just inform your agents, drop calls constantly, beat your AHT targets all the time, but completely kill your customer experience.
I've seen that in a few centres.
Only a few.